Hi guys, just a quick inbox review tonight. I know, I promised we were done with the duck. Well, technically we are done with that duck, but I got another one. Technically, I got two more through weird happenstance on eBay. I was bidding on one, and it appeared I was not going to get it. And another one popped up, so I put in a bid on it. And lo and behold, and I not only did I get one, but I got two. So I got a spare, or I can do a different paint scheme on the second one, or we may pass the second one on to someone else. You never know. So anyway, this is the classic Airframes Grumman J2F duck. It contains both plastic and resin parts. And this particular kit that I got also came with a vacuum form canopy as well as the clear styrene one. So let's pop the box open here and we'll get right into it. So we've got our Squadron crystal clear vacuum form canopy for the duck. Allows you to model it open with the gunner's canopy open, which is a two-piece that folds back inside of the pilot's canopy, and it's got a tip back gunner section. And we got a bag of resin parts here. We've got our motor and cockpit parts. That's pretty much all the resin parts are for the cockpit other than the motor. So it's going to be kind of a neat cockpit, a lot different from the old Glencoe / Idea one. That was just the bare minimum cockpit. We've got all of our styrene parts in one bag. There's our fuselage halves, cockpit floor, various parts there. And just a second, I'll close in on it before we'll zoom in and we'll actually go through some of the sprues. And the wing parts there. And there's our styrene canopy. The instructions. It comes with 2 sheets of decals for it. And painting guide to do 3 different models. So we'll come back here in a second. I'll zoom in on this stuff a little closer and we'll go through some of the parts and stuff. Be right back. Alright, we're back. Kind of zoom down a little closer. Hopefully we can see a little better. So here's our instruction sheet here. We've got line drawing of the duck, information about it, talking about being used for search and rescue operations. Was produced by 2 different companies during the war. It had a 790 horsepower Wright R 1820-30 engine. Some of them had a 30 cal machine gun and could carry 2 bombs, and some didn't at all. There's a little warning about the resin parts and using CA for that. Right out here, your general legend of steps. You know, optional, do twice, repeat other side, drill cut. Paint colors, and they'll give you the federal standard colors. Interior green, flat black, aluminum, rusty brown, dark brown, gunmetal. But there's also, that's your basic paint colors, and there's also the final fuselage and stuff colors, depending on which paint scheme you go with. We've got our parts map here. The parts. The styrene parts. Up here we have the resin parts, which are your cockpit parts. And there's the styrene clear parts. And so this one kit I got came with the extra vacuum form canopy, so we'll probably at least attempting to use that one. Have the canopy open. Alright. And like all the kits, it starts out building the cockpit. But those are all, it's all resin except for the floor, I do believe. And then step 2 starts building the landing gear, which also has to fit inside the fuselage. Now, an interesting thing I found on here, they actually recommend, let me get the focus on it here. Now here's the note. They actually recommend that you don't use some of the actual kit parts that are in here, and that you replace them with styrene rod or stretch sprue, and then they give you a list of the parts and how long they should be, which are actually, they're all these little tiny struts that are part of the landing gear. Then they're put together. They recommend you not using the ones that actually come in the kit and replacing them with either styrene rod or stretch sprue, and I'm thinking probably just go with metal wire. That's what I'll probably do. Paper clip or safety pin, something like that, straight pin, whatever it looks like the right size metal, and I'll cut the rods out of that. We got next, putting the cockpit and the landing gear into the fuselage halves, assembling the gun if you're going to use it, and there are more resin parts there for the cockpit. Putting the fuselage halves together, more resin parts, tail assembly on. And this is basic assembly from there on out. Bottom wings, upper struts, sponson, pontoons, optional bomb racks. The odd thing, you're almost to the end of the model before you ever put the engine together, which is kind of odd. Usually that's like right after the cockpit doing that. General assembly, tail wheel assembly, which is like the last actual building step, which is kind of odd. And so it's not all ducks had resting hooks, so you can put it on or not put it on. And the neat thing it comes with here is a rigging diagram. But the only thing I've noticed on that, it doesn't actually match the pictures I've seen. The actual pictures, they're showing just the one running straight from here to here, and one running straight up here. On actual pictures, this one would run up, and then come down and mount right about where this other support is, strut. And the same thing on this one. It comes up to the back strut at the top, and then actually mounts back at the fuselage right below the front strut. But then something I didn't see in any other pictures too, but they do show on this one, rigging lines in the pontoons, which means I may go back and revisit my other duck build and put those in. and look at some other pictures and see if I actually can see those in there. It may have been an early variant that had them, and then they got rid of it later on, or decided they didn't need it. So that's the instructions. The decals are made by Microscale, which is a real good sign. They're super decal company. That's all they do is decals. And of course you get your Microset and Microsol from them, obviously. But there's the main decals for it. I may not go with these. I may go with the later star and bar than this, and do just a like a sky gray paint job on it. Reason being there, I kind of have it in the back of my mind that maybe later this year I'm going to see if there's, or next year, maybe this year's over, if there'd be interest in maybe doing something like a Black Sheep Squadron group build, where you would build any excuse me, any of the equipment from the TV show. So that would cover Corsairs and Zeros and Kates and Vals and Bettys, and obviously the C-47 was in almost every episode. SNJ, which is also / Texan, was in an episode. The L5 Piper Cub was in a lot of episodes. Mustangs were in an episode. P-38 Lightning, B-25, B-17s. Trying to think of other ones for sure. Then you've got like your Jeeps and support vehicles that were always around that you saw or were talked about in the show. Black Sheep Squadron, which was one of my favorite shows as a kid. I like that one, and Battlestar Galactica were my two favorite shows. Anyway, I'm waffling here. Comes with the second decal sheet. Allows you to the other paint scheme for Naval Air Station Alameda and Naval Air Station Pensacola, for the Fleet Air Base Canal Zone area. Some different registration numbers, so you could kind of do what you want there. I'm gonna leave this in the package, but I've never messed with the Squadron product before. I've messed with Vacuform before, and what I can see, it looks pretty good. I may break down and order another one or two more just to be sure, because you know, measure once and cut twice type thing. You know, I may end up probably ruining one. This has more instructions inside. That's good. Yeah, we're going to give that a try. I may order a couple more of those just to have a spare. I'm not going to take the resin parts out right now. It's going to be a little while before I start this. I'll try and wiggle them around so you can see. We got the engine in there. Let's see. That's the center bulk. I believe the center bulkhead for the cockpit. That's the gun mount there. Looks like part of the gun there. Oh, it's so hard to see in here. Let me try to adjust my focus here. Those are rudder pedals down there. They give you a spare in case one gets eaten up by the carpet monster. There's your seat pedestal. You got radio boxes that are on the side of the cockpit, and all kinds of goodies in there. The two control sticks and whatnot. Let's say I'm not going to open that so I don't lose any parts. Here's the kit clear parts. Looks pretty good. It's a plastic bag, but it doesn't look too... It's not magnifying my finger too bad, so it might not be bad itself. And it also has the glazing for the side of the plane. That's in there. This first sprue here. These are the parts that they say don't use to replace them with a styrene rod. I don't know, maybe they're not strong enough. Part of the landing gear bay. There, we got our engine cowling there. Not sure what those are. Well, they're not wingtips. Not sure what those are. I'll have to go look in the instructions to see what those are. These are legs for the landing gear. Hydraulic push rods for the landing gear. And the sprue also had, at one time, had the fuselage halves on it. Let's look at one of those. It's all recessed panel lines. A little bit of bumps were broke off with the sprue. Have to clean up. Not much interior detail, but you got that whole cockpit, resin cockpit that goes in there, so you'd end up sanding most of it out anyhow. And of course the other one is just the reverse. Let's see, this one. There's, yeah, they show up. It's hard to get them to show up. The last one I did was in black, which you couldn't see nothing. And this one is in white, which makes it hard to see anything too. I think you're picking them up a little bit. We're going to have to, the last one we're going to have to get the eye bolts from the from all the railroad trains again and put them in for our rigging attached to it and see that. There's no anchor points. Let's see here, our next sprue is a small one. And it has our control surfaces and our wheels and the pontoons on it. These are the tail wheel covers there. Not exactly sure what that is right now. It might be part of the bomb rack. There. This is our front of the fuselage with the motor mount. I noticed none of this kit, none of the parts have any locator pins. So you're gonna have to make sure to take extra care making sure all my parts line up and fit flush. Depending on which variant I do, some of them had an extra port cut, ventilation port cut here in the bottom, right below the engine, and then like an extra air intake on top for the carburetor, so that it was up on top and didn't get a lot of the spray in it that fit on top. So that's that one. And the last sprue has the wings and the struts. Neat thing, it's got the upper wing has the handholds for the pilot when he's getting in and out of the cockpit, and the lower wing has the tie-ons, so where you could tie the plane up to the dock, which the other model didn't have. The struts look about the same. Those are the bomb racks there. The rester hook. And you've seen one wing, you've seen them all, right? Finally, we've got our paint scheme here. Now this first one here is the same basic paint scheme as the last duck I did. Kind of the silver white with the yellow wing, Marine Corps. This is a later version that doesn't have the red stripe here. And I don't think it has the red, white, and blue stripe on the tail. So it's a little more streamlined. Yeah, it's a later version. It doesn't have the red dot in the middle of the stars either. So I may go with that one. So it's just a later version of the Marine Corps one I did last time. This one is Pensacola Naval Air Station. That one would be basically all silver, except for the top wing is yellow. Oh, they call it insignia orange, but it's yellow. That's a pretty straightforward paint job there. This one is Naval Air Station on the Canal Zone. This one's the Canal Zone, Alameda, and Pensacola again. Yeah, this is the earlier version with the dot in the star for these. So those will basically be pre-war. So there's that air intake on top. So this is going to be kind of a spring long-term build. I'll try and do this up in contest quality. They're actually having IPMS, which I've never gone to. One of their shows before is going to have 2 shows within about an hour of where I live this year coming up. One in the spring and one in the fall. So we may actually get these, and if I like the way they turn out, may actually enter them in IPMS contest and see how that goes. If my luck with contest, probably not good, but that's okay. So that's pretty much it on that. Again, that's the bring the box back over here. Classic Airframes, 1/48 scale. Grumman J2F duck, and then you can do variants 1, 2, 2A, 3, and 4 with the parts in the box. So I think it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a fun build. I know. Just when you thought you were safe from the ducks. Here we go again. Oh, right there. Looks like that's where those 2 parts go, but I didn't know what they were. Looks like there's one there and one there. So that's one mystery solved. I hope everybody has a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and just lots of new models and model supplies from Santa Claus, or either Hanukkah presents, or Kwanzaa, or Festivus, or whatever it is that you like to celebrate. Alright guys, I'm waffling again. We'll see you later. Have a good one.